As we get ready for spring and warmer temperatures, of course, we also need to get ready for rattlesnakes. So Dr. Chris Dobbins from Fresno Pet ER is here to get ahead of the game and tell us how to protect our pets. This is the time of year that they come out. What's going on? It's
going from hibernation to coming out of their holes when we start getting these 70, 80-degree days, and now we're having moisture. So it's just the perfect environment for them. Once this next rain goes through, it's going to start warming up, I think, again.
And they're probably hungry, so they're looking for food, but our pets can probably get a little too curious.
Yeah, and that's usually where they'll get struck, is either up on the nose because they're sticking their nose in holes or around rocks because they hear the rattles, or they go and mess with them. Usually the cats will paw at them, and they'll usually get struck on their paws.
So what happens when they get struck?
Well, when they get struck, it could be a couple of things. One, it could be a dry strike, which early in the year is pretty unlikely.
What does that mean, dry?
They don't get the venom in them. So it's painful, you know, it obviously got punctured, but you're not going to get a lot of the venom in there. And that usually is later on in the year after they've had plenty of feedings. But when they have the strike itself, it's going to be swollen. It's going to be painful. I think we've got some pictures of some of the dogs that have been struck around the face and the mouth area, and they just get extremely painful and enlarged.
So you'll know.
Yeah.
You can tell.
Yeah, and a lot of times the owners are out there with them, and they, hear, the dog go into the bushes, and all of a sudden they hear the dog cry out, and they come back. And then sometimes within a couple of minutes, the face is already starting to swell up, starting to drool, very painful. A lot of times you'll see a couple of strike marks, a little bit of blood dripping from each one of the strike marks.
So if we see it happen, what should be the first thing that we do?
Get them in the car. Get to the veterinary office as soon as you can. The sooner we get treatment started on them, the less problems we will have. We have anything from anti-venom, which is the #1 thing we would want to get into them, to help neutralize the venom, because the venom itself is toxic not only to the tissues, it'll cause necrosis and the tissues will die, but it'll also go through the system and cause shock, cardiac arrhythmias, platelet problems, coagulation problems. So you want to get it taken care of right away. You don't want to say, oh, it's probably a dry strike and not worry about it, and by the time you get back, and now things are much worse.
Is there anything not to do? I mean, have people brought in their pets and they've tried to remedy the situation in the meantime, and you would rather just not do it?
People have watched too much TV and done the whole, cutting of the area and trying to suck it out, put tourniquets on, which we don't want that to happen. You can cause way more damage than, trying to think what you can get out. We've even had people try and electrocute the animal's area where it was to try and neutralize it as well. So, yeah, there's nothing you're going to do other than get them into the vet office, make sure they're safe. Obviously, if they have a complete shock let down, they're going to have CPR and mouth-to-mouth and things like that if it's that bad. And that can happen within a few minutes period of time. So, if you do see it, get them in there. But there are things that we can do to prevent them from having these serious problems, especially if you live up in the foothills and around lakes and streams. There is a vaccine. It's been out for a number of years now, and we have seen less problems from the snake bites on the animals that have had the vaccine. It's usually 2 per year, sometimes 3 per year, depending on where you're living. And it does help lessen the severity. It is not a replacement for getting treatment. So you can't say, oh, I don't need to go get it seen because it had the vaccine.
Right.
It doesn't work that way. It just helps lessen the severity and buys you more time to get them into the hospital to be able to get them treated. And the treatment can be very expensive. I mean, the anti-venom, probably $700 to $1,000 a vial. Usually 1 vial, sometimes 2 or 3. The equivalent on the human side is $10,000 to $20,000 a vial, and they take anywhere from 10 to 50 vials per treatment. So it can be very, very expensive to treat it.
Well, let's stay away from those snakes then. Try as hard as we can.
Keep them on leash and know where they're at.
And just trust the professionals. Dr. Dobbins, thank you so much. And there's their website if you need more information, and their phone number just in case this happens to you.